Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Audrina Blackburn with us today. She's co-founder of Summit Chasers Network and host of the Summit Chasers Voices of Impact podcast. We're going to talk about podcasting and what she's been up to so far. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start or scale your own podcast, go to podpire.com. Audrina, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure. Thank you so much. I am co-founder of Summit Chasers Network, and my partner and I really created that so that we could work with business owners and really be able to make an impact for the business owners that are just stressed, overwhelmed. They're so involved in the day-to-day that they can't enjoy a vacation, they can't enjoy their family time. So my partner and I came together and created our Summit Success Framework to be able to allow the business owners to pull out and focus on that. On the other side of that, I also host the Voices of Impact podcast, where I'm talking a lot to nonprofit founders and leaders who are really working to make an impact in their space, and being able to just amplify their voices and then also encourage other people to go after their own passion and mission is something that I am very, very passionate about myself, and grateful that I get to speak to so many different amazing people who are out there making changes in this world that are just so desperately needed.
And Summit's Chaser Network, like what is it exactly? Is it an agency? Is it a consulting firm? And who do you target precisely?
Sure. Yep. So we're a business consulting firm, and we really work with, like I said, those business owners that are just incredibly overwhelmed. We can work in any industry because what we focus on is business foundations. So across the board, it doesn't matter what industry we're in, the foundations stay true no matter what. So we have our framework that is Summit. It's an acronym, and we start with personal development. We start with the business owner because we are only ever as good as the business owner as a company, right? Because they're the number one person in their business. And so if they're not constantly growing and developing, then their company is going to grow stagnant too. So we start there. We'll then go into unifying their team around the collective vision and mission, working on core values, guiding principles, and being able to really make sure that their team is bought in and heading in the same direction together. From there, we will go into business strategy. We call it Map Your Path. And that's really where we dive into how do we actively work to achieve that mission, and then break it down into key strategic objectives and really be able to just push forward towards that mission. After, the next M is make a clock. So we'll go into process optimization, doing SOP documentation, the boring stuff, but the stuff that really allows the business owner to be able to go enjoy vacations or spend time with their family or focus on different passion projects. And then from there, we'll go into increasing their team's talent density. So really working to make sure that they are hiring the right people, that they're developing their people within, they've got leadership development going on. And then the last one is time to scale or sell, which is we have all the business foundations in place. Now let's look at the different marketing strategies that are out there, the different sales tactics, and see what we can apply now that we have that solid foundation to actually support the growth.
And your background, you started in professional ballroom and Latin American dancing. Tell us a bit more about that.
I did, yeah. So I started dancing when I was 8 years old and absolutely fell in love with it. It was a random Sunday when one of my best friends in Georgia was a little Russian girl, and she took me to dance class with her. And I absolutely fell in love and started competing at probably 8 or 9. I think I got pretty quickly into competing. Did that all the way up until about 23. I competed in rhythm, I competed in smooth, but then I actually focused in on the Latin aspect of it. So cha-cha, samba, rumba, paso doble, and jive. That's really where my heart was. It's funny though, because standard, which is like waltz, tango, foxtrot, Viennese waltz, and quick step, I was naturally better at it, but I loved Latin. I loved the music. I loved the beat. So that was where my heart was. Had I gone into standard, probably would have gotten further, but I went with Latin. And at 23, had a knee injury that just completely took me out. And I wasn't able to dance at the standard that I was previously. So then I had to pivot my career completely, because going from dancing, thinking that that was going to be everything that I did in life. I thought I was going to coach, I was going to perform, I was going to judge, I was going to do all those things in dance. And then to have it all just kind of taken away, I had to be very, very quick on my feet and figure out, okay, this isn't working. So what can I do next to kind of move on from it?
And how did you meet Zach, your partner?
We actually met on Hinge. So we started dating first and then realized how aligned we were and what we wanted to achieve and the impact that we wanted to have. And because of his background and my background, we are so well versed in those business foundations. He was a professional athlete in 3 different sports, and then I went into flipping gyms, like brick and mortar gyms. And then he really got the itch for the entrepreneurial side of things and realized how much he loved it. And then I was in business operations for about 9 years and found my niche in there, also with developing people and leadership and all of that. And then we realized, okay, we have the exact same beliefs and values. And like I said, we want to make a huge impact in the space with working with these businesses. So we just kind of came together and built Summit Chasers.
That's really cool. I see Zach. He's a fellow Canadian. He did MMA, and what are the other two sports?
Yep, he competed in strongman and CrossFit as well.
Very nice. Strongman is, yeah, quite epic, and to compete in these three is very impressive, to say the least.
Yeah.
How's it to run businesses in Vegas? Is it a nice ecosystem to grow a business?
I would say so. Vegas is currently booming. There's so many people moving out there. It's such a hub for different conventions and things like that. The amount of, I guess, people and different people that are drawn to that city makes it a really great place to start something and be able to just connect with so many different people, which is so key when you're starting out.
What's the thesis behind the podcast, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, the podcast is going really well. Like I said, with voice, so we have 2 different podcasts. We have Voices of Impact, which is the one that I lead, and then Zach leads just our mainstay Summit Chasers podcast. And we, again, with the Summit Chasers podcast, that's focused around those business foundations that we work with our clients on, and that has been going great. We get to talk to different experts in their fields just to try to add as much value as possible. And then with Voices of Impact, again, I'm focusing in on those nonprofits and just people, and it doesn't have to be a nonprofit. It could be anybody who's really just working to make an impact in their space, being able to inspire others to go after their own.
Yeah, I find that the ones making the strongest impact nowadays in terms of the social aspect would be social startups. So not necessarily nonprofits or nonprofits run by ex business people slash
Mm.
hedge funds manager. Most of the time, they're really well managed. The problem is, yeah, when there's too much heart and not enough brain, you don't get the dollars, which are quite important to run such ventures. Now, what have you learned from top founders, CEOs, or high performers that you've talked to?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that has continued to come up in the conversations that I've had with some of these people is that, one, not being afraid to start. And that sounds so simple, but so many people get paralyzed by all the things that they want to achieve, and they have all these huge goals that you almost stop yourself from doing anything. So the importance of just like being okay with being a little bit shitty at something and not being perfect right off the bat is really what I've found in those top performers, that they'll go try it. They'll go and they will make decisions, they will make mistakes, learn from them, and then do it better the next time. And I think that that's kind of been a recurring theme across those people who are just absolutely crushing it and really making a change and a difference.
How do you balance your feminine energy with Zach's masculine energy in terms of leadership and running the company?
I love that question because I wasn't always able to sit in it. For a long time, I was actually very much in my masculine energy with my ex-husband actually, and then in my previous role in the last company that I was with, being an executive, I found myself just like constantly in the masculine. Now, come to Zach, where he is incredibly masculine, it's allowed me actually to sit into that feminine a little bit more. And I think that there's so much diversity and so much of a great balance that comes from having both energies working together, that it's truly just a great combination. So I would say that on my side, it's like, okay, how can I organize everything? How can I make sense? Because he's very much the visionary, I would say. And I kind of live in that integrator role and helping to like actually put his thoughts and dreams into action for us. So balancing those two things has been really, really nice. And I think a key to making us so successful, because we have completely different, maybe intuitions and energies of how we want to go about doing things. So to blend those two and bring them together allows us to be incredibly efficient and also have that thought diversity that's needed in that space.
And in terms of operations, what's your focus nowadays? Serving clients, customer success, recruiting? What are your functions precisely in the business?
So as it's through our framework, we cover a lot of them. We actually we'll focus in specifically on how businesses are operating through their SOPs, doing documentation and things like that. We will also focusing on hiring. So we are truly full service across the board of the business foundations. It's not that we focus on just one. And I think that that's actually what allows us to kind of stand out from the crowd, because oftentimes you work with a company and they just do SOP creation and they just focus on the process, or they just do hiring. So we really take a look at the full picture. And because we're working as a partner to these businesses, we're able to go from start to finish and really help them create that solid foundation where we're not just focusing on one specific thing. And what we found is usually when these business owners are out there and they're looking for the quick fix, or what's the newest shiny object that's out there, what's the newest AI technology that I need to put into my business, or the newest marketing strategy, and they do that, but their business can't support it. So it works for just a short period of time, or it doesn't work at all, or it will exacerbate the issue that they had in the beginning. So what we've found is it typically comes down to a lack of that foundation. So once you get that foundation in place, then let's go have fun. Let's go look at the marketing strategies, the different AI tools that are out there, and see how you can use that to elevate your business. But if you don't have that foundation, it's not gonna work the way that you want it to.
What about sales, your GTM strategy? Any tactics for us to get more clients?
Networking, I think, is key. I think that being able to get in front of as many people as possible and understand what it is they need, and then be able to identify what their pain points are, communicate to their pain points, and just getting in front of as many as you possibly can, I think is huge. It's been also you don't know what's going to come out of it. Like, you might find partnerships that are fantastic for you. Maybe they don't end up being a client, but maybe you can leverage them in another type of way. So just network, network, network.
What are your top goals for the rest of this year?
I love that question. Our top goals, I really want to have a huge impact in the nonprofit space. So whether that be being able to bring awareness to the issues that they're facing, or being able to support them so that they can start to have, you mentioned it earlier, sometimes they're full of so much heart, but they don't necessarily have the business acumen. So being able to support them and having that business acumen so that they can run their organizations a little bit more strategically, or how a traditional for-profit business would run it, being able to do that would be absolutely incredible. I would say that those are probably top two focuses for me personally. And then within Summit Chasers, we want to have a true impact on the number of successful small businesses, because about 50% of them go out of business in the first 5 years. So we're really working to try to reverse that statistic and make the success of those small business expected rather than just an anomaly.
What does your day-to-day look in terms of fitness and habits that you have to create energy later on in the day?
Wake up, workout. First thing I do every single day, well, at least 5 days a week. And then getting active. We've got 4 dogs, so we are constantly out taking them on walks, making sure that they get their energy out, and then obviously setting yourself up for success with just nourishing your body the right way and not eating absolute crap first thing when you wake up. So work out, get active with the dogs, get outside for a bit, and then making sure that I'm eating something healthy. And as far as fitness goes, I love weightlifting. I've been doing that for like the last 2.5 years and have absolutely loved it. And then also like a bit of like CrossFit training style.
Longevity, is it pretty much the same, fitness plus eating good stuff, or do you have other tips for it?
I would say that, I mean, going back to those foundations, I think is what creates longevity, whether that be foundations in your personal life and the habits that you create, and meaning like you're structured with fitness and you're aware of what you're putting into your body. Maybe you're into journaling, and that helps you to kind of brain dump things so that you're not constantly running a million miles a minute. But I think longevity comes from having really solid foundations that you can rely on. And same within business. If you have the business foundations, chances are your company is going to last a hell of a lot longer than if you're just out there constantly doing these quick fixes.
When stress hits the fan, what do you do?
Oof, work out. Work out, or I will take a walk with the dogs. That's always a good one. And then sometimes if I just need to like completely switch off, this is a bit of a guilty pleasure, but I do love just to watch something that I don't have to think about. So I like Bravo TV. So occasionally if I'm like, I just need to shut off from everything, I will throw something like that on, and just let my brain not work for an hour at a time, right?
Right. And what's your relationship with risks nowadays? How much stress can you impose on you and how much can you manage?
Oh, I like that question a lot. I think it's crucial to when you're an entrepreneur. I think you have to take risk. You have to um, allow yourself to get out there and let things get a little bit hairy and a little bit scary in order to see success. So I would say I have a much larger appetite for it than I ever have before. Previously, when I was in a corporate position, everything was incredibly stable and I was doing very, very well. I knew exactly how much I was making. I knew what everything looked like on a day-to-day basis. But oh my God, I was so bored. And moving into the entrepreneurial space, it's like you're constantly challenging yourself. You're constantly having to learn new skills. You're constantly having to just put yourself out there in ways that you never really did before and learn as much as you possibly can. Take the risks, do something that you might be like, shoot, I might have looked a little bit dumb in that situation, or I might not have done that right, but it's okay because you're learning from it and you're trying it and you're doing something new. And you never know when the thing that you do is going to get you what you've been looking for. So I think I definitely have a much larger appetite for risk than I ever did previously. And I've been enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, it can be incredibly stressful, but I also think that leaning into the entrepreneurial side is one of the most rewarding things that you can do. And also it puts you on a path of self-discovery. So you're able to just really see like what you're made of and show up for yourself, be in charge of yourself, your income, your life. And that is incredibly rewarding.
Very much agree with that. Where can people find out more about you, Audrina?
Sure. So you can find Summit Chasers Network on any social media platform, which is just Summit Chasers Network. On YouTube, we are Summit Chasers Production. And then on LinkedIn, I'm just Audrina Blackburn.